Zotac, PNY, MSI, and Gigabyte. What do these brands have in common? They all make Blackwell graphics cards for NVIDIA, but it feels like one name is missing from the 50 series lineup. In fact, they were missing from the 40 series lineup too. When NVIDIA released the 40 series back in 2022, we were all excited about new graphics cards until we saw the prices. Gamers were worried about their wallets when EVGA left the chat. Now, EVGA's announcement came just a few months before the release, and that made us big sad. Now, EVGA mainly makes power supplies, accessories, and a few other parts. Gamers Nexus did a great job of explaining EVGA's decision to end their partnership with NVIDIA, so if you're looking for the tea, they serve it hot with crumpets. You can still find many comments talking about the good old days of EVGA and how amazing their company's customer support was, and still is today. What people don't talk about as much is how important EVGA was to the graphics card industry. Their achievements in overclocking and their positive presence among gamers were underappreciated and are severely missed. It seems like every month there's a new problem in the PC industry. There's always another company mistreating customers or making a bad product. Every time I see this, I'm reminded of how good we had it with EVGA and what we lost when they stopped making graphics cards. Since 1999, EVGA added new ideas and great community relationships to the graphics card industry. I think their strong commitment to these values set a high standard for their competitors to meet, but it also might have been one of the reasons they failed. So let's talk about why. The most underrated part of EVGA's graphics cards was overclocking. They were a leader in innovation when it came to pushing the limits with GPUs. Sure, many companies offer OC variants and different boost clocks, but EVGA was different. They made true overclocks, and they physically changed the card's chipsets to make them perform even better. Now, to do that, they didn't just stick with their internal team. EVGA hired the famous overclocker Kingpin to develop the Kingpin cards, which had been some of the beefiest overclocks ever seen. This also shows their commitment to the community. EVGA kept lines of communication open to overclocking communities and worked with others to create the best cards. Kingpin and the overclocking team were like mad scientists, creating powerful monstrosities that everybody loved. But when those monsters got a little too powerful, NVIDIA got big mad. Many times, NVIDIA would step in and try to stop or slow down the overclocking team. This back and forth went on for years, with EVGA pushing back and wanting more room to overclock, while NVIDIA sent them videos lip syncing to Taylor Swift's "You Need to Calm Down." Can you tell? I have two young girls at home. NVIDIA liked keeping strict control over the quality of their products, even when made by third parties like EVGA. EVGA making such big changes made that difficult. In 2025, it's hard to find anything like EVGA's overclocking department. The innovation they achieved just can't be, or at least hasn't been matched. NVIDIA, AMD, and now Intel seem to be focusing more on AI upscaling instead of overclocking. This shift away from higher native rasterization put limits on overclocking, which isn't to say that overclocking is dead, but EVGA did it better than anyone else. It's clear that NVIDIA was moving in a different direction with the 40 series and now the 50 series. The RTX 5060 hasn't been announced yet, but it's likely that it's going to have 8 gigabytes of VRAM and rely heavily on DLSS 4. Now, some people love DLSS and others hate it. Personally, I'd prefer to get as much performance as I can without upscaling and then use it as a little boost, which makes me really miss a company like EVGA who would be able to help make up the difference with pure power. Overall, I think that EVGA and NVIDIA's ideas of innovation were completely opposite. EVGA wanted to get as much power and performance out of a card without AI. NVIDIA has clearly gone all in on AI, choosing to put more development into upscaling. Now, while I see both sides, you have to respect EVGA for sticking to their core values, and that brings us to the biggest thing EVGA brought to the industry: their standard for customer service. I feel that 2024 was a year of bad customer service in the PC industry on pretty much every single level. We had the Intel CPU microcode issue that lasted until September, the whole ASUS situation with RMAs, and even the NZXT rental problem. But you know who still has good customer service despite the rest of the industry struggling? EVGA. Even now, EVGA offers replacements and honors the warranties that are still active, but it goes deeper than that. When EVGA was on top, they had the absolute best customer service. But don't just take my word for it. Here are two great examples of just how good their customer service was. Okay, this is from the EVGA subreddit. This is from The Legend. He says, EVGA truly has the best customer service of any tech company. I bought an out-of-warranty GTX 1080 last week for $350. The person who sold it to me faked some benchmarks and cheated me into buying a dying 1080. It had severe overheating problems and I was not aware of it. When I put the card in my PC and loaded up a game, the card overheated and died on the spot. Someone contacted me regarding the card and informed me that EVGA has amazing customer service and might be able to replace the graphics card for me. Therefore, I contacted EVGA asking them for help. They asked me for the original owner's contact information, which I wasn't able to provide. In the following message, they said that they will do a one-time courtesy and replace the graphics card for me free of charge. I'm going to mail out the graphics card tomorrow. Update. Yeah. So EVGA actually replaced my GTX 1080 with an RTX 2070. It's actually insane. Another post from the EVGA subreddit. Reason I've been an EVGA customer for 20 years. Got an EVGA Supernova power supply at Best Cry last week. Somehow was missing an 8-pin power cable. Emailed customer service and they said, what's your address? Cable came today, no questions asked, just made it right. They just treated me like a loyal customer and for that, I will remain one. If you bought an EVGA card and needed a repair, or if you were missing something and needed a replacement, they would fix the problem for you immediately and they'd make you feel like a valued customer the whole time. EVGA would never make you drown your GPU in a bucket or cut the wires on your wireless mouse just to get a replacement. And the best part, EVGA was strongly against scalpers. They had a queue system that required a verified email and it would put you in line for one graphics card. Once you got to the top of the queue, you had a limited amount of time to buy your card or it went to the next person. Now, listen, I'm not saying this was a perfect system. Anyone could just make multiple emails, but I'm sure it helped slow down scalpers to some extent. But wait, there's even more. Just wait until I tell you about the trade-in system.
But Zach, other companies have trade-in systems.
But their trade-in programs are nothing compared to what EVGA had. EVGA calculated shipping, tax, and rebates so you could actually afford to upgrade. It was a much more consumer-friendly system than anything else out there right now. Now let's think about this in the context of today with the 50 series. Raise your hand if you or someone you know would like to upgrade but can't because of the price of graphics cards today. Everyone in the studio raised their hands. Like I said before, there are trade-in programs out there, but they don't compare to EVGA. Now you're better off selling your graphics card on eBay or Facebook Marketplace so you can get as much money as possible, but that's always a bit risky. The price of the 40 series was crazy at the time, and things really haven't changed with the 50 series. The mostly speculative retail pricing, or MSRP, of the 5090 alone is outrageous. And sadly, EVGA isn't around to give gamers an affordable upgrade option like they did before. Honestly, I think the community is in a worse position because of it. The sad truth is that if you want to play at mid to high range performance, you have to pay a lot more than you used to. I can't help but wonder, what if EVGA was still around for the Blackwell release? Could they have found a way to improve the 50 series? Would Kingpin still be MIA? And would it be easier to get a GPU at the suggested price? This video isn't just to highlight the good example that EVGA set for other companies still making cards. It's more of a challenge for the industry to show some love to gamers, take a lesson from EVGA's playbook, and win us over. Newer PC gamers who didn't experience the joy of EVGA need to know what they should expect from a company. It seems that our standard for what customer service should be has become too low, and our standards of acceptable graphics card prices has become way too high. As far as I know, EVGA never really failed on these things. For better or worse, I think that's what might have killed EVGA graphics cards.
Butterfly in the sky.
I can go twice as high.
Take a look. It's on Reddit.
Reddit rainbow.